if you sort of say what's behind the fourth industrial revolution, you've written the book, for which I wrote the foreword.
Exactly.
Oh, that's nice. How we all getting on well? I've written down. Yes, you did the foreword. I did the afterword. Let's call the whole thing off. Obviously, you've noticed that when you use WhatsApp, you have to sort of sign up to some contract that seems like it's obfuscating and bizarre. And if you notice, when you search anything on Google now, you've got to tap down through that contract, agreeing to all sorts of terms. I have to tap it about 3 or 4 times with a phone. It'd be easier to place a bet on a Grand National in a nation where I didn't speak the language. You know, what's going on? Well, of course, what's happening is I'm agreeing to hand over my privacy. You'll love this Great Reset video where we see Klaus Schwab in the flesh, in person, talking to the head of Microsoft, who you don't hear about much with regard to privacy, but as if they're almost a blue chip company beyond reproach. Well, I argue in this video that that's because they are the OG, the original gangster of the big tech world. And the reason you don't see them hauled before Congress is they've simply mastered the art of treachery. Let's look at privacy, big tech, the Great Reset, and make sure that Klaus Schwab doesn't actually look like a Bond villain.
Now, one of the key issues in the economy of today is how we handle data.
Klaus, I'm going to need you to look at the camera and say, Mr. Bond, we've been expecting you, while stroking at least an imaginary cat.
And I think it was you who at least you spoke out for data dignity. And of course, we have a tension. How much do we protect privacy? How much do we use the potential of those data for good?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, the Great Reset? If there were a fundamental problem with Davos, which is seen as the central summit behind the Great Reset idea, it's that they're always talking about stuff as if they're going to do stuff when you think actually there's some other plan in mind. To see Klaus Schwab and Satya Nadella talking about privacy and data dignity is theatre. It's theatre because the number of powerful interests that are cooperating and collaborating at Davos and through the relationships established there and demonstrated there could change the world whenever they wanted. Recent behaviour within big tech companies like the Trump ban, for example, shows that real power is with big tech and with these kind of organisations. So I suppose it's particularly galling to hear them talk about potential regulation or change as if they're going to do something, as if there's any consideration other than the perpetuation of the ideas that underwrite their companies.
I think we believe that data and privacy around data is a human right and it has to be protected. You have to be transparent.
Scott Galloway, a professor at New York University's Stern School of Business, which sounds too serious to even get my head around. Welcome to the Stern School of Business. They're the original gangster of big tech, known for sucking the air supply from their competition. In the 90s, Netscape with implicit subsidies. Had the DOJ not put the brakes on Microsoft, we might not have had Google today, favouring Bing as the dominant search engine. Don't even think about Bing anymore, do you? I don't even know what it is, having a cartoon rabbit my kids watch on the telly. Last year it was revealed that 250 million Microsoft customer records spanning 14 years has been exposed online without password protection. I never trusted that little paperclip guy. Windows 10 was criticised on launch for having default settings that sent various information regarding user behaviours to Microsoft and its trusted partners. These are just our trusted partners.
Now, but here's the interesting thing. I think that this term I like, which we use, called data dignity.
I don't like data dignity because I think it sounds sort of like a bit stupid, actually. Excuse me, where's my data dignity? How dare you look at my binary bot and my didgeridoo?
Goes one step further than privacy because data that you contribute to the world is got utility.
Microsoft sells targeted ads against search results and users have complained about how their data is secured in the cloud, but the company hasn't received nearly the same level of scrutiny and it's been years since its executives were hauled before Congress. It's good that in this industry, having not been hauled before Congress for a few years is seen as a good thing. Hey! It's been ages before I've been hauled before Congress. Jennifer King, Director of Consumer Privacy at the Centre for Internet and Society, Stanford Law School, said they've been around the block, they've been the evil perpetrator before, and they've already learned how to play very nicely with the regulators. Oh, they understand how to grease the wheels of the political machine. That's one of the reasons you don't see Microsoft executives being hauled into Congress. They've been in this space for decades. So the point is that Microsoft, who of course are in the news a lot because of their former CEO Bill Gates are under a little bit of scrutiny revealed to be not more ethical, not more clean with regard to their practices around privacy and profit, just better at PR, better at playing the game.
I should be able to, in fact, control in a much more finer grained way how my data is being used to create both utility for me and the world and the causes I care about.
I like that Satya Nadella is talking there like he isn't the CEO of Microsoft, but just some guy using the internet. I should have my dignity preserved. My data shouldn't be spied on. Well, you do what you like, mate. You're in charge of Microsoft.
But could you go one step further and you could see something, I just invent the expression, I don't know whether it has been used, a data wallet for everybody. So
a data what?
Wallet.
What? This could take a while. Actually, if you look at Klaus Schwab's face, he's a little bit like a cuddly old granddad. But we're not judging people by their faces or their voices, other than to have a bit of a laugh and a joke. What we are interested in is whether or not Davos is being used to provide a platform for some of the most powerful interests in the world to mask their true intentions behind a veil of conviviality, normalness and ordinariness, when in fact what's happening is power is being concentrated into sort of like a uranium pellet of potency.
So he can decide whether he actually sells the data.
Did you know as well that Microsoft owns LinkedIn, which has raised eyebrows with its uncanny skill at suggesting connections for its 600 million users, and was probed in Ireland for using email addresses of 18 million non-members to buy targeted ads on Facebook? It seems, again, that what distinguishes Microsoft from Facebook and other big tech companies is not that their behaviour is better, but that they are more deft in their duplicity. They have better legal advice. They've been in the game longer. They know how to avoid these kind of problems. They've got lobbying relationships that go back longer. They have more influence, are able to protect themselves from the kind of investigation, futile though those investigations may ultimately prove to be, that we see conducted with, for example, Zuckerberg at Facebook.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that these are the kind of mechanisms we should be experimenting with, which today, if you think about the exchange, what is ad-funded business model? And by the way, ad funding is not a bad business model because in some sense you're getting a free service.
So it certainly seems to be working quite well for all of the major tech companies in the world, because that's what they are. That's what Facebook is. That's what Google is. They're all ad-based business models. For all their ingenuity in the forward-facing aspect of their business and the presentation as like these friendly, multicolored, I mean in their fonts, jocular organizations, ultimately they're selling bespoke adverts to their users. We know the old adage, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And in the case of all these free services, that's what's happening. Cue advert.
We have set aside, we have defined a set of principles around fairness, around robustness, around privacy, security, transparency.
As Satya outlines there, they have themselves outlined a lot of principles around fairness, etc. Well, they're outlining them themselves. It's not unlike the Facebook kangaroo court that banned Donald Trump. If the only measure by which your standards are examined is established by yourself, then you're doing what you want anyway. We've established standards around fairness. Well, have you, mate? Like, according to what law? According to what independent adjudicator? I suppose what Microsoft shows you is that Facebook and Google were the tipping point that took big tech power to egregious and observable levels. But it has long been present, even in the tech world, in the form of Microsoft, that they've long been preying on data and exploiting information that ought remain private. They've just been doing it better and for longer. And furthermore, they've been exploiting the kind of economic and political relationships that we've come to recognise as fundamental in the political and economic landscape that prevents real democratic change ever occurring.
Intelligibility of the models that are created and accountability. But it's not just, these are not just words. Although there is a lot of principles now that are being discussed everywhere. You need to turn it into software engineering practice.
At Davos, look, it says, committed to improving the state of the world. It's sort of a very banal piece of propaganda that hangs on that wall, committed to improving the state of the world. But can you imagine what that would look like in terms of inequality, what that would look like in terms of privacy, in terms of profit, in terms of business practice more broadly? What we've become accustomed to with the business world at large, and in the big tech world in particular, is phatic, empty language being used to mask true intentions, over which we have little access and no control.
Economic growth will only happen if two other things are also in place for achieving more. One is trust in technology.
You've got to trust the old technology. You've got to trust it. That's one of the keystones of profitability in this area. But in 2013, The Guardian and Washington Post revealed that Microsoft was the first company to participate in the PRISM surveillance program, the very first one. Yeah, we'll do it. Well, don't you want to wait and see who else is going to? Nah, definitely, we're up for it. PRISM, of course, is what Edward Snowden exposed, the scale of surveillance and data sharing that was taking place at high levels of government. Microsoft is a long-term government contractor. The US Army used Microsoft technology to increase lethality by enhancing the ability to detect, decide and engage before the enemy. Oh, that's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Again, you notice how these companies are branded logical, rational, like much of the violence we see enacted, drone strikes, specificity, and the participation in that kind of activity certainly makes me question the credibility of a company, and certainly claims they make right now to fairness, for example.
The one way we can, in fact, not only have economic growth, lack of economic growth, we can go backwards, is if we don't have trust in the very factor of production that's supposed to fuel the fourth industrial revolution.
Microsoft beat Amazon to win the contract for the Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure, the Jedi project, a $10 billion contract to provide cloud services for the Department of Defense. Microsoft's government contracts have sparked criticism among employees across the sector. A blog post written by company staffers urged company management not to bid on the Jedi project. You don't need to bid on the Jedi project. This is not the project you're looking for.
Whether it's cyber, whether it's privacy, we talked about AI ethics, internet safety, these are all big topics where we will need global norms to ensure that there is trust in technology, and we, as the platform creators, will have to do our part in it.
When you're contemplating the reorganization of the world, it's not that new ideas are needed, it's that the ideas that we currently have and discuss need to be acted upon. They're already saying we need to behave properly, date with dignity, all this stuff. All right, well, do that then. Stop going to conferences and saying it, then carrying on as you were. Democracy, simply allow people to be democratically involved in the decisions that affect their lives. All of these ideas are out there. They're just sort of corralled, emptied of meaning and reissued to you as phatic, bland, empty sentiments and sentences, while the true brutal pursuits of the powerful are enjoyed in the same way that they always have been. It's the same as it always was. We're just going to do what we need to do in order to get what we need to get. Whatever collateral damage there is along the way, we'll absorb it and we'll justify it retrospectively. That's the mentality, and all the conferences and lovely posters and sets that look like a neural network, that's all just ingenious ways of masking tyranny.
Both the United States and China and the European Union having a set of principles that govern what this technology can mean in our societies and the world at large is probably more in need today than it was in the last 30 years.
Thanks to you.
I feel the two revolutions which will take place using digitalization data are probably still in, many industry sectors, but particularly also in the educational and agricultural field.
You keep away from the food and keep away from the children, all right, Klaus?
Where we are still very, let's say, backwards oriented.
Right, precision agriculture.
He's even there. Oh, God. I look around there, all shifty. Oh, no, I've said too much. We want to be in charge of the kiddies and the carrots. Why did you do it, Klaus? Where's my bloody kid?
Precision agriculture, precision medicine, whether it's digital manufacturing, everything is going to be defined by this fourth industrial revolution. But if you sort of say, what's behind the fourth industrial revolution? You've written the book, for which I wrote the foreword.
Exactly.
Oh, that's nice. How we're getting on well. I've written down, yes, you did the foreword, I did the afterword. Let's call the whole thing off. You little cosy Davos buddies.
The fundamental thing that you're seeing is the increasing digitization of people, places, and things. Now, once you have this malleable resource, i.e. digital, you can start doing things you can't do with atoms. You can do with bits. In fact, you can make your atoms more efficient.
You leave our atoms and our carrots and our kids alone.
Because you can simulate, you can predict, you can automate, all in software. And I think that's the broad phenomena. Same thing with precision agriculture. The fact that you can pick the seeds, the time to put them, how to maximize or minimize the water usage, all can effectively be designed like how you would design a semiconductor.
Well, have a little listen to Vandana Shiva, who'll tell you how appreciated Bill Gates' involvement in Indian agriculture has been. Or look at Bill Gates' programs for acquiring farmland. And look, too, at how cosily it is discussed as if this isn't it. As if it isn't upon us, this terrifying blanketing out of options and rights and freedom and individual expression. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It really helps the circulation of the video. You know why, algorithms and stuff. What do you think all this is about, for heaven's sake? If you've got any questions for me in the comments, or you're worried about the logs, how many logs I've got, check it out. Oh, we're okay on the log front. Leave those comments below. I do read them. If you're worried about my dress sense or something, you know, or the tattoo, anything that's bothering you, just put it down there in the comments. It'll get to me. And please go and sign up to my mailing list. I've got some important announcements coming up soon that I really want to involve you with. Thanks for watching it. Let us know what you'd like to see covered. Thank you.